Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
I've been going out with a girl, her name is Julie, but last night she said to...
We start with a growing row over David Cameron's leaked resignation honours list. Theresa May has been urged to block the awards over claims that they devalue the system by rewarding allies and party donors. The former chairman of the Committee on Standards in Public Life has told us that the list beggared belief and called on David Cameron to think again. Let's go live to Westminster and our senior political correspondent, Beth Rigby. Beth, I've been thinking about this. Are we getting this wrong, or has Cameron got this wrong? Because historically, were honours not there to reward those who surrounded you, who supported you, even if you lost the campaign? This is Cameron saying, these folks stood by me, this is what an honours list is for. Are we interpreting wrongly what an honours list is for?
Morning, Eamonn. Well, Prime Ministers, as you said, do make resignation honours lists, but I think the issue with the David Cameron list, which has been leaked into the Sunday Times and is running now, is the sheer scale of the number of awards and indeed how many have gone to his, what some people would say are cronies within Downing Street. There's 48 names on this. 24 of those people are members of Cameron's staff. They include a whole range of people, and I'll read through some of them for you. Those thought to be in line for the resignation honours include 4 Pro-E cabinet colleagues. That's Philip Hammond, now the Chancellor, Michael Fallon, the Defence Secretary, Patrick McLaughlin, who's now the chair of the Tory party, David Lidderton, the European Minister. They're all reportedly recommended for a knighthood. Mr Cameron's also requested a companion of honour for his key political ally, the former Chancellor George Osborne, who is now consigned to the backbenches after being rather brutally sacked by Theresa May. Will Straw, Jack Straw's son, who headed up the official Remain campaign, he's been proposed for a CBE. And others in the Cameron's entourage include Isabel Spearman, an OBE for her. She is Samantha Cameron's diary assistant, and she's also her de facto stylist. And George Osborne's former aide and chief of staff, Thea Rogers, she used to be a BBC producer. She's responsible for George Osborne's makeover there, Eamonn, and his famous Caesar haircut. So quite a range of people in that list.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, it's now or never for Cameron, is it? Because, you know, if he submits this next year, the year after, it's David who, really, at the end of the day. So who's not happy about it?
A number of people are not happy about it. It's chums for gongs. It comes, Eamonn, also as we talk more and more about this political class and people being rewarded with honours, and should they be, in the House of Lords is already filled to the brim. So we've had responses from Alistair Stewart, as you said, the former chair of the Committee of Standards in Public Life. He's basically said, as you said, it beggars belief, and has really slammed this list. And this is what he told us last night about the list.
The sort of scale that has been suggested might be applied is totally inappropriate and will be seen by a very large number of people as a misuse of the honours system, and will undoubtedly affect how people perceive him as Prime Minister and his record as Prime Minister.
So there's Sir Alistair Graham, not Stewart. Apologies for that. And also Tom Watson, the Deputy Labour leader. Labour piling in on this, cash for gongs, cronyism. They've called on Theresa May to block the list. That in itself would be very controversial. But this is what Tom Watson said. He said, Mr Cameron proposes to reward his friend's network on such a huge scale will not only bring the honours system into disrepute, it will undermine the reputation of Theresa May. It's cronyism, pure and simple, and proof the Tories will always put their own interests before those of the country. So lots of backlash, as you said, Eamonn, against this list, but the fact is that the Prime Minister has it in his gift to reward those that have served him, and he has the right, if he chooses to give his chauffeur, to give his wife's stylist honours. But this row is going to rumble on, and it remains to be seen whether Theresa May will try and block some of the list. I would be surprised if she does.
OK, well, Beth, we'll do our best to make it rumble throughout the morning. Back and talk to you shortly again about the reaction that's coming in. Thank you very much indeed. All I'm going to say is, first of all, the people that complain about it are people that don't have honours and probably want them. Secondly, historically, honours are there as patronage. They're there because the people who you serve say thank you very much indeed for your service. It doesn't matter if they went down in a ball of flames or whatever happened, but that is their way, the system's there. Yeah. We have misinterpreted. We, as history evolves, we have said, well, it should be for lollipop ladies and men, and it should be for very good people and whatever. Not necessarily. Politically, historically, honours were there to reward those around the
So that is your take on it, but we want to know what you at home think. Are you in favour of what David Cameron's proposing? Would you go along with what he's suggesting, or do you think it's an outrage? Let us know at Eamonn Holmes, at Sunrise Isabel, or they can email news@sky.com.
Well, you will think it's an outrage, especially if you don't have one. That's really what happens. Can we hear from people who have honours and tell us it's an outrage or not? So that was Mr Cameron rewarding his lieutenants, but as I say, if he puts that list in next year...
But his wife's stylist, for example...
Well, we would all be complaining if she came out looking like as if she was dragged through a hedge backwards. They're representing the country.
They can't win.
No, I think it's quite obvious. I think, get over it. There you go. Am I complaining that I wasn't on it?
Here's the Eye's front page, honours backlash over gongs for chums. The Mail also carrying the story, fury at Dave's gongs for his cronies.
It's infuriated a lot of people, and a lot of people on a lot of front pages tonight saying that this risks devaluing the honours system as if it hasn't been of little value or devalued at least for quite a long time. This is specifically a Prime Minister's resignation honours list, and he has the prerogative, he or she, outgoing Prime Minister, has the prerogative to dish out a load of gongs and honours to people who have either served him or supported him. And Brown and Blair both declined to do that because cash for honours was probably a bit raw in people's mind at the time. But Cameron's just thought, sod it. And he's drawn up a large list of people, people who advised his wife on parties and clothes, through to long-serving and loyal aides at the heart of Number 10, to whom he's going to give honours. And it's Andy Burnham, the Shadow Home Secretary, Labour's MP, whose political stock is not high at the moment, but he's come out with a good line tonight in which he's pointed out that millions of people voted Brexit, at least in part in protest against what they took to be a cosy political elite. And they've just confirmed everybody's worst fears and suspicions about that by awarding themselves a load of honours.
Can we just focus just briefly? I mean, here are two. On the left, you have an aide to George Osborne who, it said, put him on a diet. On the right, you have Samantha Cameron's personal assistant who, it said, aren't the papers being slightly disingenuous? Thea Rogers, for example, on the left, did an awful lot more than putting him on a diet.
Staff,
yeah, and she basically did resurrect his image after the kind of, disastrous budget and that shaming at the Olympics in 2012. She did reinvent George Osborne, not enough for him to actually go on to win the leadership and lead the party. However, she did transform his image. I do think that the level of outrage is fundamentally because Osborne hasn't broken the rules, but he hasn't quite acted in the spirit of the rules. Nothing he's done in awarding these honours to his staff at Number 10 and to businessmen that supported the Remain EU referendum campaign is out of keeping with, historical precedents such as Lloyd George or Margaret Thatcher or Harold Wilson famously created the Lavender List in 1975, in which he awarded several honours to businessmen that had supported him during the EU referendum campaign in 1975. So he's not acting against, he's not in any way acting against the rules, but there's a slight tinge of kind of distaste in all of this.
Yes,
because,
slight.
Well, I think also because of the political culture and climate that we're living through, we're living through this anti-establishment age that people are incessantly talking about. And what that means is that people quite rightly get angry when they see the political class and the political elite, abusing their privileges, their patronages and their power.
I mean, when you have the Telegraph, the Eye and the Mail all leading on the same story, it doesn't just indicate that it is a big story in and of itself, it indicates that readers across a range of political opinions are likely to be exercised by it.
That's absolutely right, and it's also carried on onto the inside pages of The Sun, for example, picking up on Cameron's cronies, and it does fly in the face, at least, of the environment that Eliza just touched on, where people are sick of seeing a quite cosy elite. Now, there is a distinction between handing out a CBE to someone who's served you loyally for 10 years and giving a seat in the legislature, in the House of Lords, to your supporters and backers. The latter is quite intolerable, in my opinion. The former is a bit more justifiable, if distasteful. And it has infuriated people. But, of course, it's also an opportunity for political opponents to jump on this and say what a disgrace and absolutely outrageous behaviour it is. But I mean, this is what politicians do, and if you don't like the honours system, don't have one. If you do have one, accept that some honours are going to be controversial.
I think there should be a clear distinction. Those that give public service for a number of years, whether it be through voluntary organisations or charities, and those that are very close to the corridors of power. I think also there is a sense of sort of class hostility within all this. You know, the old boys network, you know, the Etonians thanking all his chums by dishing out all these honours. I do think there's, you know, a sense at which, you know, because of Cameron, where he's come from, where he went to school, there is a sense that he's abusing these kinds of powers in a way that perhaps Margaret Thatcher, who abused them actually much more fervently, let's not forget she gave an honour to Jimmy Savile, you know, she was easily as guilty as for this in 1990 when she left.
There's definitely an anti-establishment quality to politics on both sides of the Atlantic at the moment.
I know